All right, we'll start there then. Micah 5, verse 11. And I will cut off the cities of thy land and throw down all thy strongholds. Okay, when God decides he's going to do something, it's going to get done. You know, there's no way of being saved from total annihilation when he decides he's going to set this world on fire. It's going to go down. The only salvation is going to be in him. And he's always been the only salvation for any individual. We know that. But there's coming a day it's going to be worldwide. Look at 2 Kings 18. 2 Kings 18, verse 13. Here's what's going on in Israel. For the prophecy is this is what's going to happen. Now in the 14th year of Hezekiah did Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. He comes in like Nebuchadnezzar does. And all of these guys, they're vicious. They're vicious. They'll use intimidation. That's what their goal is, to not have to actually fight. So they come in as a bully. And they'll beat up and just be as gross and mean as they can be to anybody they see in order to intimidate. And if that'll get you to capitulate, then they'll go for that. However, if you give them any resistance, they come down just as hard as they can. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 14. Ecclesiastes 9:14. This is the way the ancients did warfare. They loved to besiege. Matter of fact, Rome did it as well. They liked to besiege a city. Who am I thinking of? The Mongolians, the Mongols. They loved to besiege. Now the thing about them was they did it differently than everybody else did. I gotta quit talking. I'm gonna get back to Bible in a second. The way they would besiege a city is they would use the resources of the land. They didn't take in machinery. They just built it on the spot. And they would come in, 14 million strong and devastate a city and just wipe it out. Genghis Khan would never enter. There was one city he entered, but usually he would never enter the city. They would just demolish it and he was off to find them a new spot to go. They just came in, like locusts coming through and eating up a field. That's the way they came through. Ecclesiastes 9, verse 14. There was a little city and a few men within it, and there came a great king against it and besieged it and built great bulwarks against it. Didn't matter the size. If it was in the way, it had to go. Now, we think of it this way. God in heaven, you're an ant, less than an ant in his viewpoint. Yet when he comes back, he's going to take the time to destroy this earth and the devil, and it's a spiritual thing more than the physical thing. He's taking vengeance on wickedness. Proverbs 18:10. Here's the only way to get any reprieve. Psalm 18:10. Yeah, Proverbs. I'll have y'all reading the whole Bible before the end of the night. Proverbs 18, verse 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. That's the only safety a man can find, is in the Lord. The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and as a high wall is his own conceit. That is, the things man has built up to be surety for the end have not turned out to be so. You know it in your own life. The housing market was a safe investment. Just wait. That thing bust and boom repeatedly. And it seems like the closer we get down toward the end, we've got more booms than we've gotten busts. And it's just the way it is. There's only one thing that's sure, and there's only one thing that's steadfast. That's something that's always been here, God.
Amen.
Outside of him, you've got total destruction. Just don't put your trust in any of this mess down here. You can lightly lean on it, but don't trust in it. I don't know, I've not investigated it thoroughly, so I'm not going to give any strong opinions. One of the latest things that happened was the financial guru, what's his name? Financial peace guy. Dave Ramsey. He's just sued for millions and millions of dollars for running a scam on his people. Yeah, he was telling them that they could buy into a company that would help them get out of timeshares. He was making $400,000 a month on it. Ramsey was, and so it's a class action lawsuit now. But yeah, that's just, you can't trust it. You trust God. You can take somebody's advice and then ask God, was that something I was supposed to hear? And then you let him tell you. Same thing with raising kids.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a way they're going to tell you to do it. Okay, take all of that and then you and God figure out what you're supposed to do. It may not be the same for you. You figure out from him. He's your safety, not a man. Micah 5 verse 12. Micah 5 verse 12. And I will cut off witchcrafts out of thine hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Now that'd be a good day. Witchcraft is on the rise right now.
Blatantly.
In America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but I do know in America it is on the rise. And it's become, the kids don't want to hear anything spiritual from the Bible. But they're sure curious about it from the wrong side.
Right.
It just tells you the spirit of the age is changing, and it's changing fast. God says there's coming a day I'm coming back to cut it off. There's going to be no more witchcraft. When the Antichrist is here, it's going to be a satanic system. I know you already understand that. But it's going to be literally satanic. Using craft. It says craft will increase. That's witchcraft. Look at it in 2 Kings 9. Israel is going to have to be purified of their idolatry and Satanism before the Lord will do anything for them with military might and spiritual kingdom set up. 2 Kings 9, verse 22. Second Kings 9:22. And it came to pass when Joram saw Jehu that he said, "Is it peace, Jehu?" He said, "What do you think?" Didn't you see him tearing in there? The dust clouds flying up behind him. You think that's peace? And he answered, "What peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many." Witchcraft is against God, and he levels punishment against it. That's why he says in Revelation about Babylon, "My people come out of her," because he's about to lower the boom. Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47 verse 9. In fact, I want the verse right before it. Isaiah 47. Let's go back to verse 7. Isaiah 47:7. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. No, don't think so. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. Now verse 9. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day. Okay, a moment in one day, we've already defined it. It's in 1 hour in Revelation. It happens 3 times in chapter 17, I believe. He says, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. enchantments. That's supposed to be good. That's a white witch. You'll recall at Christmas time they want to paint the enchanted forest as though that's something good. No, God says, I destroy for that mess. Nahum chapter 3. This Babylon runs all the way through the Bible, spiritual Babylon. Nahum 3 verse 4. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredom, and families through her witchcrafts. That is, the King James translators would tell you, that is the Catholic Church. And it fits. The Catholic Church, you could not be king without the okay of the Catholic Church. The Pope had to say that you had the right to rule, and that's called the divine right of kings. Nahum 3 verse 4. Yeah, that's the divine right. Divine? The Pope ain't divine. He ain't giving nobody right to rule, but he thought he was, because that was the way he controlled the world, was telling kings what they could and couldn't do from a religious standpoint that was more political than religious. And he says they've sold nations through their whoredom, making trade deals and special deals, and families through her witchcraft. You start studying, there's a whole side of Catholicism that's absolute witchcraft. And the Pope has I should have got y'all a picture of it. I didn't know I was going here tonight, but there's a picture of the Pope in the Jesuit throne. The Jesuit throne is very different than the one that's portrayed on TV. It's very demonic. It would make the Game of Thrones look like a cartoon. It's very demonic beast above it, and just a not normal looking throne. And that's where he sits. There's a demonic side to that thing, and that's going to be on the rise, and it may be that the Catholic comes out on top there when the Antichrist is here. Deuteronomy 18. YouTube's going to love that. Deuteronomy 18, verse 10. Deuteronomy 18:10. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or uses divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch. That's all satanic stuff. From the beginning of time all the way through, the devil's a murderer, and his job is to kill and bring in death. He's the death angel. Now, America is doing it in a sneaky way. They're doing it through abortion. But there's a spirit behind that. Robert was telling me about today, they've got all these companies that are paying both $4,000 and the benefits to any woman who wants to get an abortion. It's just satanic. The devil wants to kill off as many people as he can. The babies will be safe, but what it does is it calls down the wrath of God.
That's right.
Micah 5, verse 13.
Doesn't that bring back the same curse of Manasseh?
That's, Moloch. Mm-hmm. Micah 5, verse 13. Thy graven images also will I cut off. Now, we don't have images per se in America right now. Most of the world does. We don't so much here yet. Now we've got things that we could spiritualize and claim as an image. Now that's not the real deal. We're putting a spiritual application on that. Idolatry is not me prioritizing one thing over the other. I might idolize it, but that doesn't make it an idol. He's talking about a literal idol that the devil attaches itself to. Demonic idol.
Does the Catholic Church, the
Oh, yeah.
statues of Mary, do they?
Yeah.
So that's here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's been here. Yeah. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee. And thou shalt no more worship the work of thine hands, and I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee. So will I destroy thy cities. He doesn't stop with just the idol. The whole city's got to go. It's so wicked it contaminates everything around it. That's sin. There's no sin that's safe. We've said that over and over. By that I don't just mean the person. I mean everybody around it. It's a contamination. Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44 verse 9. When the Antichrist is here, it's going to be all-out idol worship, because he's going to have the beast that everybody's going to have to worship. Isaiah 44 verse 9. They that make a graven image are all of them vanity. He said, you did it for nothing. And their delectable thing shall not profit. And they are their own witness. They see not, nor know, that they may be ashamed. Who hath formed a god or molten graven image that is profitable for nothing? Behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed. Well, not at the time thinks he's making a profit off of it. And I don't doubt that, a lot of these people, and maybe back in the ancient times, didn't really believe in this mess. They knew it was just something they carved, but they were making some good coins on it. So they kept doing it. It's all part of the satanic system. And the workmen, they are of men. Let them all be together, gathered together, just like he does at Armageddon. Let them stand up, yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together. I guess so. When he comes back and gets them all gathered together in one spot and shows up, then good and evil come to a head. Verse 12. The smith with the tongs both worketh in the coals, and fashioneth it, and the hammers, and worketh it with strength of his arms. Yea, he is hungry, and his strength faileth. He drinketh no water, and is faint. The carpenter stretcheth out his rule to make it. He's going through this detail after detail, saying, look, here's exactly how it was made. Reminds me, your compressor.
Oh, that's good. Needed that.
Reminds me of the time that Aaron created a golden calf. He says, I just threw this stuff in the fire and out popped this golden calf. No, he fashioned it. He carved it. He made it a golden calf, just like they'd been worshiping when they were over in Egypt. He knew what he was doing. And so here God's trying to pull back the facade of it all and say, no, they're making that. They've got the ruler out there. Why do you think they got a ruler in their woodworking shop? They got to use it to make it. Welcome to the upholstery shop. That whole chapter gives you all of what God has to say about it, and he's not too happy. Isaiah 46.
Cat turned it on.
Had to be.
Isaiah 46 verse 5. He says, to whom will you liken me and make me equal and compare me that we may be like? He says, what do you got down there that you can say is similar to me? Zero. They lavish gold out of the bag and weigh silver in the balances and hire a goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. Okay? So the best we could do is the highest quality of material we have, gold and silver. With gold and silver, you could fashion something that a man would worship. Now, not an idol, but many men worship gold and silver, money. It's just the natural thing, especially in America. I think more so in America than a lot of countries. Is we think it's all about the dollar. No, a lot of it is about the dollar. But you shouldn't live for it. Verse 7, they bear him upon shoulders and carry him, and set him in his place, and he standeth. From his place shall he not remove. That is, he doesn't just get up and walk out. Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet can he not answer, nor save him out of his trouble. What good did that do? Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors. That's the way God talks. He calls a man out, calls him what he is, and exposes the scam of it all, the sham. Look at Hebrews 1, verse 3. Hebrews 1, verse 3. The devil set this thing up so that he inhabits the object that man wants to worship, so he can get the praise that he desires. And for some reason, man has a proclivity to gravitate towards something physical he can worship. So God says, okay, after 3,000 years, I'll finally give you an image you can worship. Hebrews 1, verse 3, speaking of Jesus, who being the brightness of his glory and express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power, when he had by himself purged our sins, sat down on the right hand of the majesty on high. If you want an image, there's one, Jesus Christ. It's not one you fashion with your hands, though. It's one that was literally here, and now he's at the right hand of the Father. Micah 5, verse 15. Micah 5:15. And I will execute vengeance in anger. Look at those adjectives. He says, I'm going to execute vengeance. Now that sounds pretty mad, doesn't it? But then he says, I don't think you understand me. Execute vengeance in anger. And it's not just regular anger, it's anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. Here's what God does. He uses the Assyrian to punish his people, just as he'll use the Antichrist in the tribulation. Then he's going to turn around and destroy anybody who lifted up their hand against his people, even though it was he who said, go get them. Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50, verse 17. Jeremiah 50, verse 17. It says, Israel is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria hath devoured him. And last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, hath broken his bones. Now, that's the ramp up of them being exiled and out of God's favor. They come back in with Cyrus at the end of Nebuchadnezzar, or at the end of Babylon's reign. But for a long time, they're going through almost as bad as what the tribulation is, but not as bad, but bad news. Isaiah 10, verse 16. It says, Therefore shall the Lord, the Lord of hosts, send among his fat ones, oh, those are the Americans, leanness. And under his glory he shall kindle a burning like a burning of a fire. That's going to be hell on earth, literally, and it will be here. And he's going to set this world on fire. There's a cup of indignation God brings with him when he comes back. When he pours this cup out, it's like it's acid or something. It just melts everything in its path. Look at it in Psalm 75. Psalm 75, verse 8. For in the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. Poison. Isaiah 51:17. Isaiah 51:17. Now, the wine that's in that cup is fermented, because he said it's mixed. It's not good stuff. It's poison. So the world is full of poisonous drinks. They want you to drink wine. They want to tell you there's something good about it. You know, if you've got somebody smart enough with enough degrees on a wall, you can pay them to say anything you want. You just wait long enough, there will be some study that comes out and says it's okay to do whatever it is you want to do. Used to, it was supposed to be a good thing for your health to smoke. Isaiah 51:17. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs of the cup of trembling, and wrung them out. Ooh, that's Israel. Now we know he does that for the heathen, but he's also doing it for his people, Israel. There's only a remnant that make it through in the tribulation. Jeremiah 23:15. Jeremiah 23:15. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts concerning the prophets, Behold, I will feed them with wormwood. That just sounds appetizing. And make them drink the water of gall. That's what they gave him on the cross. For from the prophets of Jerusalem is profaneness gone forth into all the land. So the problem was your prophets. What the prophets did was they polluted the whole land. That's modern day Christianity. It's God's going to tolerate whatever sin you want. Matter of fact, we'll say he's okay with it and it's good. Andy Stanley wanting to make homosexual marriage okay. Talk about insane. Of course, he wanted to get rid of the Old Testament to begin with. Matthew 19, verse 28. Matthew 19:28. He says, And Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So, there's a regeneration. You know what a regeneration is? That's like being... they say when you've worked 50 years now, you can retire. You know what that means? They've worked you to death and you're tired. You can go home and now go work for your wife and you'll be retired.
She's not smart.
Regenerated. That is, he's going to destroy the nation and build it back from next to nothing. Mark 14, verse 35. Mark 14:35. Here's this cup. Now you and I get out of the judgment of tribulation and all that because Christ already took the punishment for us. And it's going to fall on Israel because they said, let his blood be on us and on our children. He says, okay, you'll get the cup, don't worry. Mark 14:35. Jesus. And he went forward a little and fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. Jesus is saying, I don't want the cup, I don't want the tribulation and anguish that's going to come when God is pouring out his wrath on sin. That's pretty powerful. Jesus Christ says, I'll come to earth and take the penalty for these people, Yet when the hour approaches, he even himself says, I know I'll have to switch over into man form and take this as a man. Whew, that's tough. John 18:11. John 18:11. Talk about a confusing time to live. Jesus has been preaching and teaching to them, and he's got these disciples, and they've stuck with him, and they're loyal and good men. And Jesus says, you know, these people are going to come get me, and they're thinking in their mind, oh, he's going off on a conspiracy theory right now. And it starts to happen, and so they do what would be natural. You stand up and protect him, help him. And here's his response. Then Jesus said unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? That's that cup we've been seeing about all the way through. That's what he had to drink. Ooh. And that's the only thing that gets us in. Ephesians 4 verse 9. Ephesians 4:9. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? That's Jesus. When he died, he descended first. He didn't go straight to heaven. He went straight down. He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above heavens, that he might fill all things. That is, he went and deposited your sin where it belongs, in hell. He took not only the sin, but the punishment a man would receive on earth for the sin. He says, he was tempted in all points like as us, yet without sin. I don't doubt that some of that temptation that was poured out on him wasn't poured out on the cross. You know, he could have come down off of that cross. He was going through that as a man. That's tough stuff. Revelation 14. Yep. Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. So this is something that's coming. I'll give you a little hint what it is. What's going on is, we've talked about it a little bit. The new thing that has gone crazy in our age is the age has changed, and it's changed rapidly. Just like my grandparents' age. They went from, no TV to suddenly there's TV. They went from a newspaper to now you can turn on the TV, and you got this radio, so many channels, and all this great stuff. They thought they were really, booming. That ain't nothing now. Now we've got the Google and the internet and all that. That ain't nothing yet. What's blowing up right now is AI. They're going to eliminate the internet, and you're going to speak to a artificial intelligence. It's already going on. In fact, if you want to do it, you can go play with it. Type in ChatGPT in your browser, and it'll open up a page, and you can ask a non-entity a question, and it'll answer it. So it eliminates Google, but it's built off the same platform as Google. Think about this. I'm talking too much again. This is the way Google began. Didn't make any sense, did it? You had Yahoo. Yahoo was number one. And they had on their page was full of junk you could look at. And you could click one hot topic after the next. And then what blew up and outperformed Yahoo was Google. You know what Google had? Nothing. Just a search bar. Why would that be rated much higher than this one that had all the advertisers behind it. The devil had the devil behind it. You know what the next one's going to be? There's not going to be a search bar. What's coming, I'm saying when we leave, what's coming is you'll install the AI in your body. They're already talking about it. I could go forever talking about this stuff, but they're already talking about it. You can install the AI updates in your body, and then it connects to your brain, and you get all the information right there. Well, that's what they're going to do. Sure, that's part of the new beast that's coming. Revelation 14:9. The third angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, "If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in their forehead and in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall torment with fire, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." You don't get away from God by going to hell. David said, if I make my bed in hell, you're there. Okay, he's there. He says in Proverbs, I'll laugh when your calamity comes. I think the only thing you hear in hell is this. You hear the anguish of the beings that are there in torment, and you hear the laughter of God. Whew. That's tough stuff. Revelation 17. Revelation 17:4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. That's the nation. And he says all of that fornication, filthiness, and wickedness is in a cup. Well, that cup is going to be dumped on her own self, and God's going to destroy them. You know, wickedness doesn't help anybody. It drives them further to degradation. This way the Bible talks is this. He said in verse 15. So, where am I? Micah 5 verse 15. He says, "Such as they have not heard." Now, did they have a Bible? They could read the Bible, and then they heard it. That doesn't mean that they've not heard of it. Doesn't mean that someone's not told them about it. There, Micah's doing it himself. He said, this is going to happen, and it's going to be so bad that people have never heard it. Well, he means they've never heard of anything happening just like that. They've never lived through it. There's been no ancients they can go to and say, you know, what happened when this, you know, you ever seen anything happen like this? It's never happened before. Now, we can't really put that on the historical events that had happened. Assyria destroyed much like Babylon destroyed. And then Babylon was destroying things almost similar to the way that Cyrus comes in and destroys. Now I know you think I'm crazy when I say Cyrus destroys, but Cyrus destroys. Remember, Cyrus takes over Babylon. Who do you think was in Babylon? The people that came over from Israel. He wasn't discriminating. He wasn't saying kill only those that are Babylonians and make sure if there's Jews that we don't touch them. No, they'd all assimilated, just like it's going to go on in the tribulation. And that's why the angel says, get out from that city and come out from her. Deuteronomy 4 verse 32. Deuteronomy 4:32. For ask now of the days that are past, where were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard the like it. He's saying here, when he says they've not heard it, anything like this, meaning nobody's experienced anything like this. that thing is going to multiply and multiply and multiply. Babylon was worse than Assyria was. It's just going to keep multiplying and multiplying until tribulation comes, and that's the greatest that will have ever been. Exodus 9, verse 18. Exodus 9, verse 18. Behold, tomorrow about this time I will cause it to rain a very grievous hail, such as hath not been in Egypt, since the foundation thereof even until now. God says, I'm going to do something I've never done before, to the degree it's been done before. Now that's what he's going to do. Egypt, a picture of the world, in the tribulation. He's going to destroy with more fury and anger than he's ever poured out. Habakkuk 3 verse 2. Habakkuk 3 verse 2. This is the only prayer that'll be being prayed by a wise man when that happens. Habakkuk 3 verse 2. O Lord, I have heard thy speech, and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. Now I'm going to go off on the deep end here. When does this happen? When does he say, direct him to remember mercy? In the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, in the midst of the years, he says it twice, make known, in wrath, remember mercy.
In the middle of the tribulation.
That's your mid-trib rapture right there. Matthew 24 verse 21. People like to say, in fact, I know someone who says there's no such thing as the tribulation. You know, they like to pull at straws. There's no such thing as the tribulation. Everybody has tribulation. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. We all go through tribulations. But nothing like the last 7 years is going to be when I'm gone. Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, singular, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. That's God, that's Jesus saying it, so you know that's a fact, Jack. Joel 1 verse 2. Joel 1 verse 2. God likes to do new things. He's a creator. He's creative. People like to say that after the seventh day, he rested on the seventh day because he finished doing everything he was going to do. No, he's continuing to do new stuff all the time. Every time somebody gets saved, he's creating something new. A new creature. He loves to create. Joel 1 verse 2. Hear this, ye old men, Chris, and get, oh no, and give, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land. Hath this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? No, there's been similarities all the way through. All the way through, we've seen little pictures. But every time the picture comes out, it gets worse and worse. He's turned the volume up. Pretty soon, it's going to be on decibel 10, and it's going to blow out the speakers. There's a lot more verses there I don't have time for. The next chapter is Micah 6. I'll just read you 5 verses, and then we'll start on it next week. Micah 6 verse 1. This is God getting real mad. As if you hadn't seen that already. This is him saying, I'm mad and you people don't understand it. And that's what's going on in this world. Is the lost people don't have any spiritual understanding at all. When you start saying you're accountable to God, they say, what's a God? You know, there's just nothing there. So God comes back. That doesn't excuse it. God's going to do this with his nation. He's going to say, look, We're going to have a trial. You put me on trial. Accuse me. Let me hear it. Micah 6, verse 1. Hear ye now what the Lord saith. Arise, contend thou before the mountains, and let the hills hear thy voice. Hear ye mountains, the Lord's controversy, and ye strong foundations of the earth. For the Lord hath a controversy with his people, and he will plead with Israel. That plea doesn't mean he's begging. It means a legal proceeding. O my people, what have I done unto thee, and wherewith have I wearied thee? Testify against me. That's God saying, bring your accusation right to my face. For I brought thee up out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of servants, and I set before thee Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. Miriam gets a bad rep because she dies of leprosy. However, don't ever overlook Miriam. It was a threefold group that brought them out. Miriam's given credit for it too. Verse 5. O my people, remember now Balak, king of Moab, what Balak, king of Moab, consulted, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him from Shittim to Gilgal, that you may know that know the righteousness of the Lord. This is good stuff, and we don't have time to get into it. We'll cover it next week. He's going to go through, and he's going to go ahead and play the court scene out as though he was having this court scene. Now, it's not a court scene that's happening, but he said, if you wanted to accuse me, of course everybody's been accusing me, he says, then just come right up here and do it. And here's what I would say. I would say I did this, and I did. God's going to justify himself before man, and he's going to call out man for all the things he's done, and it's going to get hot and heavy. All right, we better stop it there. Took you over about 10 minutes.